storms to light and calming the seas. And Jesus taught us if we had enough faith, even a mountain can be moved from its place.
That seems impossible for someone like me, but I've learned that faith begins as small as a seed. It grows by doing good and learning the truth. That seems like something I can do.
With a little faith, I can grow and change and be a better soul. With a little faith, I can help somebody everywhere I go. When I choose God's way, I choose to make the world a better place. It's amazing what one person can do with a little faith. My faith in Jesus gives me courage and hope, and strength to do what I can't do on my own. Just like a seed becomes a towering tree, I can become the most incredible me. With a little faith, I can grow and change and be a better soul. With a little faith, I can help somebody everywhere I go. When I choose God's way, I choose to make the world a better place. It's amazing what one person can do with a little faith. I may not move a mountain, but I can move my feet and go and do the simple things the Lord asks of me.
I may not heal a sick man, but I can be a friend and help God heal a lonely soul.
Isn't that a miracle? With a little faith, I can grow and change and be a better soul. With a little faith, I can help somebody everywhere I go. When I choose God's way, I choose to make the world a better place. It's amazing what one person can do with a little faith.
Good morning and happy Sabbath, my dear brothers and sisters. So yeah, this is my first time giving a message here in Tistak. Not the first time like giving though, but here in Tallinn, like this is special since this is like the first. But as we start, let us bow down our heads for a word of prayer. Lord, take my words and speak through them. Take our thoughts and think through them. Set our hearts on fire with love for you through the power of the Holy Spirit. This we ask and pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. Yeah. Okay. How's everyone? Yeah, by the way, thank you, Sophia and Sean, for joining me in singing. That's entitled With a Little Faith. So there's like so much thing that we can do with just a little faith. Okay, let's just wait for a while. Worry or worry not? Are you like a type of a worrier person? For me, sometimes I am. Sometimes not. But yeah, I mean, it's we cannot normally like. So worry or worry not? Researchers at Pennsylvania State University wanted to figure out how much of the stuff we worry about are actually worth worrying about. So they asked 29 people with generalized anxiety disorder to keep a journal of everything they worried about for 10 days. So people with this disorder feel extremely like worried or nervous more frequently about a lot of things, even when there is just little or no reason to worry about them. And then after 3 weeks, they checked on how many of those worries came true. And the result? This is the result. Can I have the copy? 91.4% of the stuff people worried about didn't come true, and only 8.6% did. In other words, less than 1 in 10 things you worry about is probably worth worrying about. And there's more. The most common percentage of worries that came true for people in the study was 0%. So while some people in the study did have worries come true, a lot of them didn't have a single bad thing that actually happened. Another study was actually showing that half of all the people in America's hospital beds are constantly worriers. So as you can see, 43% of all adults suffer health effects due to worry and stress. 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are stress-related complaints or disorders. Worry has been linked as well to all the leading causes of death, including heart disease, cancer, lung ailments, accidents, cirrhosis, and suicide. And an estimated 1 million workers are absent on an average workday because of stress-related complaints. Stress is said to be responsible for more than half of the 550 million work days lost annually because of absenteeism. 43% of all employee turnover is related to job stress. Mental distress can even lead to death. And add to the list the mental fatigue of nights without sleep and days without peace, and we get a glimpse of the havoc worry plays in destroying the quality and quantity of life. Now let me share with you a personal story. When I was primary one, around 7 years old, the father of my childhood friend or our neighbor would always spend time teaching me how to bike or cycle every after school. After a few days or weeks, I managed to learn how to cycle. I was enjoying it a lot. One day, my friend and I were biking. We're actually doing this. So she was on my back, and I was cycling so fast. No helmet, no protection at all. Then suddenly, I hit a stone, and the next thing I knew, we're already on the rocky road, wounded, and like this. Then, a year later, I was on my way to school. I took a public vehicle, back then, and before the driver stopped, I saw my school teacher walking her way towards the school gate. And of course, as a student, I was so excited to greet my teacher that after the vehicle stopped, I immediately ran across the road without even looking whether there are some vehicles coming. There's no traffic lights back then. I think even until now in my hometown, there's still no traffic light. A police car hit me, and I was sent to the hospital with my teacher and that same police car. After this incident, I tell you, I never tried riding bike again. Never. Every time I try, I always remember those accidents, and I'll always imagine that I'll encounter an accident again, I'll get wounds, even broken bones. Many times, my family and friend would even try to encourage me, hey, bike again. But I said, I just can't. I was having that fear and trauma. A lot of worries and what if I fall down? What if I go into the canal on the side of the road? What if I hit another car? And so many what ifs. I no longer knew how to balance a bike. But after 3 decades, so I think you can now count how old am I now? After 3 decades, my family, Carl, my kids, Sophia and Sean, they actually encouraged me to try again. I can see that my kids are already learning how to bike. I think some of you have seen how they've learned to bike. And I'm already imagining myself being left alone While they're biking, I'll be like walking behind them, following them. I tell you, we bought a bike because I was like encouraged and I want to challenge myself. The first time I held the bike from home, I was like telling them, okay, let's try first. Let's go to Kadriorg Park. But before we went, like, I think 5 to 10 minutes walk to Kadriorg Park. I cannot try the cycle. I need to hold it and push it slowly. We walk, and then while they're cycling. The first time I held the bike, I was actually like sweating, trembling. I just like cannot understand myself. Despite the cold wind in Tallinn, I felt like, I felt like too hot. But with God's help, with Carl and the kids' encouragement, with me trying to face my worries and fears, I was able to ride a bike again. But I cannot play somehow. Anyway, yeah, there's supposed to be like a video of me biking again. And that's the first time after 3 decades that I've actually managed to bike. And here, especially in Tallinn. So yeah, maybe you find it like, just biking. That is just a small thing. But for me actually, this is actually like a very big milestone and achievement for me. So what is worry? According to the dictionary, is the state of being anxious and troubled over actual or potential problems. The word worry in the New Testament is a Greek word, merimnao, which translates to anxiety. It's a combination of 2 words, mirizo, which means to divide, and nous, which means the mind. Worry does affect each and every one of us. Worry is something that threatens to destroy each and every one of us. Worry keeps us from being present. It can steal our joy, and it can rob us of our peace. But the good news is that God has prepared a script for us, a story in each of these people's lives that shows us a way to find Him in the midst of our anxious thoughts. I'll be sharing with you this morning just 4 points. I call them 4 J's because my name starts with letter J. So I created 4 points. So the first J, just have faith in God. Let's examine the story of Moses. So when God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, he expressed his feelings of inadequacy and sense of being unqualified for the task. So surely he must have been worried. He cited this. First, lack of eloquence. Moses felt that he lacked the necessary speaking skills to effectively communicate with both the Israelites and Pharaoh. Second, there's a sense of inadequacy. Moses may also have felt inadequate due to his background and personal history. Like, he had been raised in the Egyptian royal court, but had fled to Midian after killing an Egyptian taskmaster. So this may have contributed to his feelings of unworthiness and inadequacy to lead the Israelites. Third reason that maybe Moses have thought, it's like the fear of failure. Leading a nation of people out of slavery was an enormous task. That's a big task, so huge. Even just leading maybe 2 or 3 people in a team, that's already so big thing. And Moses may have been overwhelmed by the magnitude of the responsibility. Fourth reason, humility. His reluctance to take the role may have stemmed from a sense of humility. He may have felt unworthy of such a significant role and was hesitant to assume a position of power and authority over others. But Moses, I think you know the story, faced his insecurity and fears by responding to God's call to go back to Egypt, where his fears began. He was motivated by God's vision of working through him to save his people, the Israelites, from the suffering they were experiencing. experiencing rather. So in Exodus 3, verses 11 to 12, it says, "But Moses said to God, 'Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?' So he said, 'I will certainly be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain.'" Now we know the reason why Moses gained the courage, because of God's promise. God promised that he would be with him through this journey. He gained the courage to face the past as he has this faith in God. I want to share another story. For those who don't know, I think, I don't know, mostly of you know, that we just like moved to Tallinn around the end of March. So it's like March, April, May, June. So it's 3 months now. Of course, like prior to moving here, we were all like so excited for like our new adventure. Like we call it our new adventure. First few days, we were just exploring Tallinn amidst the cold weather, with the snow, with the spring. But we had fun. And these are all new for like Carl, for the kids as well. And then we started to process some stuff like house hunting and finding school for kids. Now, in finding school for kids, an ex-colleague informed me, who's actually currently working in Tallinn, while I was still in SG or Singapore, that he said that one of the challenges that I might find here is getting a slot for the school for my kids. But then I was like, nah, I was so confident. I was like, no, everything should be fine. I don't have to worry about it. But once we're here, we found that it's indeed difficult, and we're trying to check the list of schools, and the queue or waiting list is indeed like very long. Like we've seen 100 something, you're on the 100 slot, or 300 over 200. And I asked around, I even like asked some of you, like Salam's family or Mickey, my colleagues here, and I did some research. I encountered that some colleagues that are telling me that it took them a year or more to get a slot for their kids. Now, you know what's running on my head? Everything is now slowly sinking in. Worry slowly creeps in. I already started just first 2 weeks, I think. I started to question our decision to move here in Tallinn. I started thinking, it must not be difficult to get a slot if we're still in Singapore. Everything should have been prepared. I was already thinking that maybe leaving SG or Singapore was a bad idea. And our dynamics as a couple, when one is actually worried and disheartened, the other one would be encouraging and comforting each other. So I already been telling Carl that, hey, this is what I'm feeling. And so we prayed. Told God that He allowed our move here, so for sure, He has better plans for us too. And He won't abandon us. So we should exercise our faith in Him. And lo and behold, after a month, we started receiving invitations from schools. And now we have a new problem. We got confused on what school to choose. That's a good problem, right? So you see, it's worth having faith in God. But sometimes, we're just too advanced that we feel we just worried in advance so much. Next, J, just have confidence in God. You know who this is. So let's examine the story of David. The book of 1 Samuel chronicles the epic power struggle between the Israelites and their chief enemy at that time, the Philistines. So I think the kids knew the story. One day the Israelites were in trouble, big trouble. So the armies of the Philistines had gathered to battle the Israelites. One morning, a giant warrior named Goliath came forward to taunt the Israelites. He challenged them to fight him. So when Israelites heard Goliath's shouts, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Who won't be scared of a giant anyway? So for 40 days, Goliath challenged them to fight. No one had the courage to fight Goliath. He was motivated by his disdain for Goliath's defiance against God and his people. So in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 32 to 33, it says, David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Even Saul, questioned David's ability because he's still like a young man. But David had courage because of the countless times that God protected him from danger in his past. He had steadfast confidence that God would deliver him against opposition. David acted on faith to fight Goliath with a slingshot, and God gave him victory. So, and as a result, the whole army fought at his side and with God's help won a great battle that day. David had the courage to face impossible situations as he had confidence in God. So that's the second J. Third point, just trust in God. Let's examine the story of, who is this? Esther. Esther risked her life to persuade her husband, King Xerxes, to foil the plans of Haman to annihilate the Jews in their country. She was motivated by the faith taught by her uncle Mordecai that she would be fulfilling the call to save God's people through her. Do you think Esther didn't have fear and worry about her life? For sure, she did worry. That's why she was like asking everyone to fast and pray. But she just tried to remember that maybe this was the purpose of her being in the throne. It's even stated in Esther 4:16. It says, she even said, "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." She's so brave. But of course, she needs help. She needs like prayer. Esther prayed and fasted to put her trust in God, to give her courage to plead with King Xerxes to protect her people. Her faithful sacrifice paved the way for the Jews in her country to stand up against attacks on them and fight back and protect one another. God brought about a great victory for them that day. Esther was able to overcome her worry and fear because she trusts God. A month ago, I think most of you knew, we went to Berlin, Germany to do like a personal errand. So it's our first trip to Tallinn, to another EU country. Like, we're so excited, especially the kids. Of course, to save money, we tried booking Ryanair, the special airlines. But because Carl was so excited, he wrongly booked a flight. He booked a Friday night trip. Like, personally, as much as possible, like, I want to avoid flying on Sabbath or like Friday nights or Saturdays. But it's already booked. Rebooking it would mean paying extra cost. So we go ahead, like, okay, Lord, forgive us. We'll just go. So our flight was at 10 p.m. Friday, expecting to arrive before midnight in Germany, in Berlin, yeah. So we boarded the plane. But 20 minutes after like everyone was like seated, the pilot announced that some engineers were actually doing the normal checks and found a problem. And we don't know what's the problem. He didn't say anything. He announced that we need to wait for 30 minutes and all should be good. Okay, just 30 minutes is fine. 30 minutes passed. We're still in Tallinn airport, seated in the plane, and the pilot mentioned that engineers are still checking and it may take some time. I can see people already like slowly getting like agitated, even scolding the stewardess in the flight. At last, after 2 hours, at around midnight, the pilot announced that, ladies and gentlemen, everything's good and we're now ready to take off. He mentioned that there's a flight curfew in Berlin airport. I don't know whether you know, but there are some like flight curfew in some airports that no aircraft movement, flying in and flying out from any airport should be allowed between midnight till 5 a.m. But he said not to worry, as Ryanair company was negotiating to Berlin airport to get an extension of the flight permission. The flight was like so smooth. It's fine, even if it's late. And 30 minutes before reaching Berlin airport, the pilot announced again, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we cannot land to Berlin airport. We need to redirect you and land to Hanover airport. And we were like, where on earth is this Hanover airport? We don't have any internet because we don't have like any connection. It's a budget airline, so we could not have like any internet at all. And we were like, is Hanover airport part of a different country? Like, where is this? And so we just said, okay, as long as we just like land safely, it's fine. So thankfully, we landed successfully in Hanover airport. Time check, it was around 1 a.m. So 1 hour difference from here, so it's now 2 a.m. Tallinn time. So Ryanair like sent an email that there would be like agents that would secure a transport to bring us to Berlin. The crew also assured us that there would be like assistance. So we went inside the Hanover airport, and lo and behold, there's no one there to meet us. It's early in the morning. No Ryan flight in that airport, so no booth or Ryanair office there as well. And we're all like running around. All the passengers are asking like where to find this prepared transport or bus. And no one is able to guide us. No agents, no bus. After 30 minutes or so, just like standing and waiting in that airport, a fellow passenger informed us like, hey, the bus is actually like waiting just outside the airport. So we all ran and went outside. It's a bit like cold. I think it's around 10 degrees Celsius at that time. And we don't prepare any jacket because I felt like it's already like summer. So we just like wear so light. So it's windy and cold. So, but we all waited patiently. And an hour passed. We're still like waiting outside. We're just standing, no chair, nothing at all, no covering, no agents or anyone from Ryanair, no email from them, and no bus. So we started checking options. The airport is around 3 to 4 hours away from Berlin. So Hanover to Berlin is like 3 to 4 hours. Taking a taxi or boat would be too expensive. I think we've checked around 200 something or 300 euro. So it's a no-no. Cannot. Just like Singaporean, cannot la. So the train service will also resume their service around 5 a.m. and it's also not cheap. I think it's around 100 plus to 200 euro. So we had no choice but to wait. So all actually like passengers are actually like waiting outside. The good thing is the kids didn't complain and both of us were just like chit-chatting and the kids are just like playing. So Carl and I just laughed actually, and that it happened to us because, and we were just actually like joking and we're like, maybe it happened to us because we're flying on Sabbath. Maybe this is God's reminder not to fly on Sabbath again. And what's important was that we landed safely and nothing serious happened. So the rest of the passengers also, what's actually like interesting is that no one actually been like complaining. If you are in Singapore, in Philippines, you can already like hear an uproar or some noise because they're already like they're complaining. But no one did complain. And at last, after 1 to 2 hours of waiting, the bus finally arrived and some taxis that they hired. So we arrived safely in Berlin at around 6 a.m. The original flight, the arrival was supposed to be 12, but we arrived 6 a.m. It's still fine, as long as we arrive safely. In this experience of ours, I realized that whatever happens, we should just be calm, chill, and of course, pray. Trust God, trust that God will not abandon you, and He'll like surely take care of you. Maybe, just maybe, if we overthink and worry so much, it must have ruined the whole Germany trip. Thankfully, we didn't, and it surely carved in our core memories as a family. So praise the Lord for that. Like it's actually like one of the stories that we have actually like the experiences that we have like encountered. That's really like a good one like to share. The last point, just pray to God. Let's examine the story of Daniel, not the baby, but of Daniel in the Bible. In Daniel chapter 6, so a group of politically motivated administrators laid a trap for Daniel by manipulating the king to sign into law a regulation that would put to death anyone who worshipped any god other than him. Daniel stood on his conviction to pray to God only, in spite of the consequence of being thrown into a den of lions as punishment. I can imagine Daniel having that worry and fear. Maybe, I don't know. But he was motivated to face this fear because he was so grateful to God for all the ways God blessed and protected his life. That gratitude made him extraordinarily confident. In Daniel 6:10, it says, "Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days." Daniel's courage grew through praying 3 times a day, even though it was against the law. His honor of God in prayer overpowered the temptation to be afraid of people. His devotion to God inspired King Darius, a foreign king, to write to all nations in their day to fear and revere God. So, my brothers and sisters, when we start fretting and worrying about what we are going to eat, what are we going to wear, how are we going to make it, let us remember not to rely on our own, but instead on God. We are to look to God first, and all our needs will be provided for. In this verse, Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 26, and 33 to 34, it says, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they?" 33. "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." My brothers and sisters, do remember these 4 J's. Just have faith in God. Just have confidence in God. Just trust in God. Just pray to God. And in everything we do, we are to look to God first, and all our needs will be provided for. Remember, worry is no match for Jesus. Happy Sabbath. And as I end, I'd like to invite Sophia again. She will be singing this special song entitled Just Pray as our appeal song. So we'll have the collection of offering after, and I close the worship service with a prayer.
If you need a steady hand to guide you, if it seems you've somehow lost your way, if you feel there's no one you can turn to, just look to God and pray. On your knees or standing at a crossroads, late at night or in the light of day, in a crowd at closet or chapel, just look to God and pray. He is there when you're searching for the answers. He is there when you need a little grace. You're His child and His love never fails you. Seek the one who knows the way. Just pray. When His love continues to amaze you, when you feel your heart began to change, when you know He gave His Son to save you, just look to God and pray. He is there when you're searching for the answers. He is there when you need a little faith. You're inside anywhere you have a chance to